What's up, y'all? I've gotten a good couple comments, kind of all asking a similar or the same thing, which is how do I start a Dariacore track, or what are some Dariacore workflow tips? So for this one, I'm going to go over like the basic process that I pretty much started every Dariacore track that I've worked on with. So with that being said, let's start with the vocals. So as you can see, I have 5 different tracks here that I've used the vocalremover.org tool on. There's probably going to be a link to that in the description, and taking them and sync the tempo up with the BPM of my DAW here. So when I play the tracks, they're all going to be in the correct. I wish you would step back. And the instrumental as well. Right, they're all going to be in sync with each other, right? And I have a video on how to do that. If you don't know how to do that, the link to that will be in the description as well. And so the first thing I want to do here is get all my tracks into the same key. So I'm going to use Boy Thoughts as an example. So this one is in A sharp major, and the Third Eye Blind jumper is in C major. So if you look here at this, A sharp major would be right here. That means I need to go up 1, 2 semitones to get into C sharp major. Don't change this by right clicking around, or it's going to mess your stuff up. But then from there, you just go like this, up 2 semitones, and then treat that boy like a son. Slap me like a side. That sounds in key to me. So now I'm going to do the same thing with Intellectual Greed, which is in G minor. With minor tracks, one of the things that makes it easier for me is if you know C major and A minor are relative keys, which mean they use all the same notes. It's just the white notes. That means that I can automatically take in my brain the G minor here and call it 1, 2, 3 A sharp major, which was the same thing that the Dane track was in. So I'm going to reset this to my C, and this should mean that up 2 puts it in key. Drink the wanted like I wanted money and fame. And I've gotten all these key markings from TuneBat, or like a service that tells you the BPM and the key of the track. So now I'm going to do the same thing with another vocal, just as a good example here, which is Vindicated by Dashboard Confessional, which is in G sharp, is what TuneBat said. So that's a nice easy one. G sharp's here. We go 1, 2, 3, 4 up, and it should be in the correct key. So let's try that. That sounds like it might be in key. Let's go to another part. Vindicated, I am selfish, I am wrong. That's definitely not in key, actually. This one's a weird one because it kind of sounds in key, but it's not if you reference it against all the other tracks once they've been in the right adjustment. So I went in and marked here incorrect down 3 just as a note for the video. This one, I think the key tracking thing on the TuneBat was wrong. So I do know that down 3 is going to put it correct. Vindicated, I am selfish, I am wrong. Let's go here. You hear how that just fits more. And then as far as music theory goes, I will say this. To me, music theory, at least in my case, because I don't know much of it, is in key and out of key. I don't worry about anything but is this in key? Like if I pick a note, is the note sounding right or is it not? That's the whole deal for me. It's just as simple as that. Does it sound right? Does it sound good? Yes, no. End of music theory. So the next thing I've done is gone in here and set all the instrumentals, all the music to be in the same key. So everything now of all of these should be in C major. Drink the wanted luck. Right, which means that I can go through. I wish you would step back from and play any combination of the music with any combination of the vocals, and it should sound good. And then lastly, as an example here, I just want to show, I had one that that was a Janet Jackson Busta Rhymes song, What's It Gonna Be? That I just wasn't loving how it sounded, even in the correct key. Just tell me just how you feel. Right, it's too fast. If I double time it or half time it, it's too slow. There's a lot of artificial weird stuff. It is in the correct key, but like for this case, the most important thing about my like Dariacore or any workflow I've found is don't earlier on in the process, don't try and fit things and don't try and fix things. So this wasn't working. I got rid of it. I delete it. You know, I don't want to spend time this early in the process trying to like finish this song. The song hasn't started. The more that you put onto the track, the smaller your options are going to be. So the best thing to do in the beginning is like do a lot of different small stuff. Don't make it fit together. Don't worry if it sounds great together. Don't even like try hard to build the next part. It's kind of just like make random ideas happen and do a lot of small different stuff to get different ideas that you can use in the track. So the next thing that I'll typically do is just pick one of the vocals or one of the instrumentals. Here I have the Boy Thoughts vocal, and
treat that boy like a son. Fuck me like I'm side. Stepping in the club.
So it kind of like changes here. We have the same melody going in the first 4 beats, and then the melody switches here. So what I'm going to do is just pick the first 4 beats of this and loop it, right? So I'm doing the same 4 beats over and over again. And then from there, I can use this as a starting point for my melodies. So the next thing that I want to do is like I had just said, start building out different melodies, but by going as fast as possible. That's like the one key thing that I can't like express enough is if you get stuck, delete it. Don't work on something for too long. Don't make it perfect. If it's okay, that's good enough. You know, that's my big beliefs as far as especially Dariacore, where it can be messy. With other genres, like it's more about building a vibe, especially like I think of artists like Fred again, who's just really a master at taking one idea and having everything in the song sound like it's part of that one idea. And that's like the vibe of the track. Whereas with Dariacore, the vibe is the messiness. So you really have the freedom to do a ton of different crazy things and then just mash them together and see what really sounds interesting and cool. So the next thing I'll typically do is pull out a VST that I have a ton of presets in that I like to use and that sound good to me and that I know how to make melodies in. So for me, one of those is Flex. That's a good one too, because you can use this if you already have Flex. I love in here the essential guitars as a starting point. I love the Saif Samir synthwave bank. The Olbiad compendium is really good. There's a couple other ones. Histobeat electronic is really good, and I'm pretty sure these should be free for you if you have like a high enough level of FL Studio. So typically I'll load up a guitar, and then I go in here and using that using the Dane vocal as like a inspiration source, I'll write a guitar melody to go with it. So I'm going to show this part just because I do feel like there's a good little tip I can give in here. But other than that, just figure out how you like to write melodies. And I'll give some more tips on this later. So
Treat that boy like a son. Treat that.
I've noticed for me when I write guitar riffs, a thing that works super well.
Treat that boy like a son.
Is starting with some low notes.
Treat that boy like a son. Treat that boy like a son. Treat that boy like a son.
And I will say the one thing that I do recommend in here too is the only mixing or effects use that you really need to use in the first couple stages of making Dariacore, in the idea phase that I would say we're in right now, is just volume mixing.
Treat that boy like a son.
So just go in and change your volume sliders and don't EQ, don't do all that stuff until you've kind of moved on to the next phase of making your track. So I start with a couple of low notes.
Treat that boy like a son. Fuck me like a. Treat that.
So the next thing I'll typically do is like use this as a rhythmic bass and start adding my high notes in.
Treat that. Treat that boy like a son. Treat that boy like a son. Treat that boy like a son.
And then I can copy these over because I know the rhythm works here, and just change the note value.
Fuck me like a son. Fuck me like a son. Fuck me like a son.
Okay, and so this one kind of has a good repetition if I keep that as my end note. So that would leave us with.
Treat that boy like a son. Fuck me like a son.
Okay, so then the next thing that I'll do is move this and try and make another little progression out of it and see if I can.
Treat that boy like a son. Treat that boy like a son. Treat that boy like a son.
That's not really it.
Treat that boy like a son. Treat that boy like a son.
You know what? Actually, this is a good point to say. I don't feel like this is working too well. I'm kind of getting stuck trying to do more notes into this. So we move on, right? That's the biggest tip that I can give you right here. I'm like halfway stuck. Maybe I could parse it out, but there's a better thing to do, and that's work on something else. So I've already written one of these.
Treat that boy like a son. Slap me like a side. Treat that boy.
And I feel like that one maybe is a little better, but what I'll do here is keep both. So I'll call this one guitar 2. Auto name this. And so now I have 2 different guitar melodies that work. I can kind of just mute this and save it. And then I'm just going to move on to my next thing. You know, I have this. I've made a guitar riff off of my vocal. And now I'm going to mute the vocal and make another pattern off of my guitar riff, right? So I have something here that I've kind of pre-made. I'll just go through the process of how I made this though. So I took a sample from my pad pack. So I'm using the array splatter grains. It's already in C, so I don't have to key adjust it. Oh, I did put some post effects on this. I know I said not to do that, but I just have basically a stereo changer so that it's not panning all around, right? This makes it mono because I'm going to do a little stutter out of it. And then I went in and cut all the lows out because I don't want too much low mud. Right, so really steep cuts. And then I put an OTT, which is just like, you know, probably took me 10 seconds to do all that. So now I have this piece, and the first thing that I did here was probably, actually I know what the first piece I did. I just took the whole thing, right, and made it super short, right? So now I have this length deal. Did some little, as you can see, I've turned the, if you hold Shift F, you can adjust the fades. So I did that, and then I changed it to half beats, and you can use the paint tool or copy paste or however you like to do this. I'm just going to paint it the whole way across, and then now keep my guitar on. And I don't love the sound of that, so now I'm going to use the slip tool. It's the little double arrows. Turn my adjust fades off so it doesn't keep trying to grab the fade point. And then I can slip all these at the same time. I'm going to select just this channel though. So now I have this, turn my slip tool on, and really quickly and easily. I kind of liked one that I had a second ago. So that might work, but I'll just go ahead and say I don't have to do all this live. I already did it in the session before this. So I did that and got 4 different. Right, so I slipped the first section, deselected what I had slipped, and then went in and slipped this selection to be different, right? Used the same piece from the beginning here. And then I also did like a variation on it to where it does 4 different segments here. And so the cool thing with this is now that you've done this using your guitar as a reference, right? Once you turn other stuff back on, so if I play it with just the vocals, as you can see, it's kind of like giving you a different feel. So now what I can do here is take my 2 and make 3. So in this case, I just used a sample from the same pack. I'm trying to get people to go get that free pack. It's 100% free. So I drug a sample in here. It sounds like this. Well, let me see. How can I play this? I think I have effects on it as well. I said don't do effects, but just don't experiment with effects. Do what effects you already know are going to work. So these things that I'm showing here are all things that I've done in the past. I'm not reinventing the wheel and being like, how do I get a good sound out of this? It's like, I played this sample and I automatically knew my guitar's already down here, so I need to get rid of some of the low end of this. And then also I have a stutter going on, so why don't I add a stutter? So I cut that low out, right? And then I added this panning. It's called filtered, it's an auto filter that I made in Snap Heap called Can Pans. It's just a thing with some macros. And I would recommend, like, if you're using presets or any kind of effects chain stuff, just mess with the macros. If you can't get it clean with that, then don't go in here and start trying to, fiddle with all this stuff. Just let it be what it is. If it's not working, delete it. So now I have this one here, blue and yellow have made, one makes two, 1 and 2 makes 3, right? And so then 2 and 3 makes 4. So it's just nice, easy stuff like that. And I'm not going to really jump into that patch at all because it's just a serum. It's a preset that I made. I changed the oscillator type and added an OTT. That's the whole deal. And if you're like, oh, well, I don't have all that stuff. 2 things that I'll recommend. One is go and get sound fonts. Just Google sound fonts and find yourself some sound fonts because most of them sound good and all, I'm going to do a whole video on those, but just check sound fonts out. They're pretty good. And then the next thing that I'll say is I am going to do some preset and sample packs. So if you don't have samples, you can definitely go, when I put that out, you can go buy those and that'll probably be a helpful starting place. So from this point, I would say you kind of have enough to get a track started. I'll play all my different pieces together just to show you what it sounds like. And I'll go ahead and say definitely this one and this one are opposites. They can't mix. So I'm getting rid of that one. I know it's either going to be this or this because these two clash. Right, we're clashing there. So I'm just going to not have them on top of each other. These two work well, so I'll leave them. These two, the 2 different variations, I feel like this variation works best with that, so I'll leave that there. And then this variation I feel like works best with that, so I'll leave that there. So now I kind of have like 2 different blocks that I can use, and I don't know if you know about this feature. I just actually recently found out about this. I can take this now and hit, I think it's Control G. No, I'm sorry, Shift G. And do it one more time because my merging thing wasn't on. Is it Control Shift G? Oh no, it's locked. So now when I go over these, I can move them all as a locked unit, right? And I'll do the same thing to my first piece here. Get all my pieces here, Shift G it, and now check it out. I have 2 different blocks that I know are gonna work with my stuff. I would maybe not do this at this point of the track, but I definitely get some usefulness out of this because now I know like, oh, I can move this here, that's a section, I can move this here, that's 8 bar sections, okay? If you ever want to turn that off, hit Alt Shift G or just click this little lock icon right here, right? And then that'll make it to where once this is turned off, you can move the stuff independently. So now we kind of have a good basis to start a track. But the great thing about this is we have 4 more instrumental / vocal combos up here. I can just go and rinse and repeat this process. So now I'm going to go pull in the vindicated vocal, or I'm sorry, the vindicated instrumental there, put it into its own channel. And just because this is a great tip, I'll open up a gross beat, put it in gross beat, and the 2 presets that are great in here, I would say Juggling Science is ridiculously overpowered. You just click one of these. It's just bomb. Everything in here is great. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. The other one that's really good is Patterns. And it has some good gates in here, so you can, even just use the gates. No. And I definitely feel like Juggling Science was the best right off the rip. So I'm going to Juggling Science, hit Trifecta. And one thing I'll say too with Dariacore is 4-bar patterns tend to be more useful. If you're doing a mid section or like a long thing where you kind of want to release tension and let some new elements feel like the song's growing, do an 8-bar section. But like this here, where the B section is different from the A section, I would say that's not going to be as useful in the starting a track piece. So now I have that. I'll go in and do something to cut the frequencies down. And you know what? That's kind of throwing me off because I definitely am expecting the B section because I've heard this song so many times. And so as you can see, I've just kind of swiped through here and found a section that's like a little less confusing to my ear, or whatever you'd call that. Now I'm going to use this and kind of have it as a basis for my kicks. Route this into here. I will say for Dariacore, there's 3 patterns that I don't even have to play it, and I already know they're going to work really well. One is 4 to the floor. One is going to be not triplets, but dotted triplets. So 3 kicks, and then that's going to definitely work. What else do we have that works? Kick and then clap. I'm sorry, kick and claps going through all here. So let's get a clap. Doesn't matter that much, so I'm just going to pull a random one. I'll insert some spacing so you know which of these goes together. What else is a good pattern that I, off the top of my head, know? Basically mixtures of these now. So we have like, so I know that these are going to work. So let me build one live real quick. That's not the basic patterns. Okay, I'm hearing bop, 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 bop. And then let's mix it with some claps. I'm definitely going to have to turn these down because they're going to be too loud. Double clap right here. And that one kind of doesn't work, but you know, something like that. So now I have my basic patterns here. We have that one. I will say too, this pattern always works great with a some kind of perk in between it, right? That's a little too zappy, so I'm going to low pass it and pogo it. Stretch it. Need it to be more tighter. Let me go ahead and copy it first. I'm just not loving this laser sound. I bet if I slam it, right? Slam it into the clipper, route it, and turn it way down, that'll probably sound good. That's kind of trash, but whatever. So I know that that's always going to be a pattern that's good. So 4 on the floor with a laser or whatever in the middle, or it could be percussion. So let's play them each with the thing and just see how we're working here. And as you can see, like when I play this, I'm already noticing in my ears, or whatever, in my mind's ears, that there could be like some little jukey like bup ba bup ba bup right here. So if you're not hearing that in your ear, just like listen to some Dariacore, and you can even pull in tracks with other people's song in it and just reference their drums, and you'll kind of notice like, oh, so they're doing a kick panned clap thing or a kick panned perk thing. So this is what this is the thing that I'm hearing in my ears right now. Let me get a better laser. That's a little snappier. No, it's not that, it's this. That's it. And doubling it up, right? And then double right here. Right? And then we have the other patterns that typically work, which is just dotted. It's hitting at the same exact time as the melody. Then we have another pattern that works. And I'll say this one's definitely not working that well with this. Where's my clap at? It needs to be way less. That kind of fixes it. It's still too loud. I'm just not loving this one. That's better. So kind of let your, don't try and think out your drum pattern too much. Just let, again, like we did in the first part. We have 1, which is the melody right there. Let 1 make 2, and then let 2 make 3, right? And then from that, the whole world, or whatever the saying goes. Then we have another pattern that I know always usually works, which is, so it's kick, 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 kick. So I'll play it with my clap. Another thing too is like removing is often as good of a tool as adding. So like, oh, that's not going to be a good one, but maybe this one. And then we'll double up right here. Bam. See, I'm making it, I feel like it may seem a little easier, like I'm making it look easy. It's just because I've been producing for a long enough time that like I'm aware when my brain says like kick, 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 like I know where to put it. I have an idea at least. Early on in producing, that was a really hard, super frustrating thing about it, is like I can hear it in my head, but I don't know exactly how to do it. And I feel like it's kind of like a meet in the middle thing. So like half of the time I was, as like I grew and figured out more stuff, it was like every time that I learned one trick that got me closer to it, I also figured out that like I need to lower the expectation. Like if my head is hearing this and then I make this, which sounds really cool, but it's not that, I need to go with the thing that I've actually made. I can't say like this music in my head is not exactly what's coming out. It's like, just let what come out, you know, let that shit ride, you know. You got to let the music make the music. Don't feel like you're like, you know, hyperconductor and you know what's right and the song is coming out wrong. That's just silly, you know. Especially if it sounds good. If it's sounding good to you, like you're kind of doing the exploring thing that's cool and like making a cool track. So now we have a bunch of different patterns here that'll probably work well. I'm not gonna mix these together. The thing that I will say here is like, do this for like 8 hours, or like do this, and then when you start getting stuck, just be like, I'm done with it for today. Come back tomorrow and do it again. If you do this 5 times, you will 100% be able to make a full song out of it. Then the next thing that I'll say is the rule of 3 is really important for me, which is, I don't know if this is a real thing, but I know for me, when I'm making a song, if I have, let's say this is 1, and then so that's 1 melody, I add 2, and then I add 3. If I try and go in here, I don't usually count drums in my 1, 2, 3, but like this is a full section. And I would say, just as a note, this purple thing and this blue thing work together. So like I would count this as 1, 2, 3. The next thing that you add here, as far as melody wise, is going to be not messy and a problem, but like once you start passing 3, the amount of difficulty to get it to sound clear, concise, and good goes like exponential. So try and keep it to 3. If I went in here and tried to add like a last layer to this, it's going to completely slow my progress. And once I spend 4 or 5 hours on a section, it's kind of like I can't change it after that. It's just stuck how it is, and I'll just start beating my head against the wall trying to get more into it or whatever. It's best to just move forward and move on. So with that, y'all, I don't want to keep going with this video because I think I've recorded for quite a long time now. So thank you for watching. I'm definitely going to start working on a Dariacore sample pack. If you like dubstep and stuff like that too, I'm going to definitely do some bass music sample packs and get those out to y'all as fast as I can and as good as I can. So thank you for watching, and I will see y'all in the next one.